Hi guys, Dave in Texas here, and what you're looking at today is one of those little selfie-helpy tips that I try to go over for y'all when I get one of these in. Okay, so what you're looking at, very front row, alright, even got a pointer today, look at this, is a really good job of soldering caps to, what you call it, pots, right? See that? What they've done, they put a big dollop, they put a big dollop on the pot itself, right? They don't score these in China. They don't, scratch them. They just, drop it on there. And, yeah, it'll hold, but not forever. And they just filled the hole in, on the connector and put the leg through the cap through it, and that's done, Nice, neat, and clean job, okay? Now, let me show you an example of how they do wiring. All right, take a look at this one. Again, they do the dollop. All right, there's a big drop of solder, a little bit more than the other guy's using. Definitely a different guy soldering. And he tied in a ground wire and the cap itself to this, drop of solder. Again, he filled in the two connector holes, and that was that. Okay. Now, if you wanted to reuse these, you could, because they're still working, just not very well, but they still work. And, basically you could use them as what they're used for. This one to be the tone, or you could actually take this cap off here, take the leg and bend it over and turn it into a volume potentiometer. But, the point I'm trying to make is that these things can be reused, even the really badly done ones, which I'm going to get to here in a minute. All right? Now, case in point, a friend of mine brings me over his guitar, and he's been following my videos trying to do this job, right? So here he is on one of his first efforts trying to solder a potentiometer. Oh my God. And not only has he really overdone it, okay, but you do risk the chance of burning these things up or causing them harm on the inside, right? You don't want to overheat these if you can keep from it, because basically to solder something, it just takes like a few seconds. You drop your solder on there, you put the leg in it and let it cool, right? You tin everything you contact the pot with. Put a little solder on it, then start and go, okay? And to avoid any trouble with a cap, these are good caps. These are orange drops. I've told them use a heat sink device like this one, okay? And what that does, it keeps the heat from traveling up the leg of the cap, and goes into this little device itself, okay? And it can be used on any type of metal, to heat sink, basically. Just take the heat away from whatever it is you're working with. Got it? Or stop it from traveling. Okay. Now, you're looking at probably the world's worst soldering job I have ever seen. Okay, I mean, look at this. Oh my God. And guys, there are wires stuck in here that he's not been able to pull out, or what the heck he's done. But these are in his throwaway box. Okay, these are like $12 potentiometers. They're all long shaft Gibsons. They're a little bit on the old side, but they all still work. They're all still in the 500s, so they're still good, potentiometers. How long will they last? I don't know, but I'd be willing to put one of these in my fakes. But if you got a potentiometer that costs $12, why throw it away? Right? You may ask yourself, well, how am I supposed to solder anything to that now? All that goo on there. Well, they do sell a tool. It's called a desoldering iron. And guys, that's mainly used for taking solder off of circuit boards. It's not for doing a mess like this. And they look like this. Let me show you what they look like. It's got a little tip to it. It's got a little vacuum handle right here that will actually suck off the solder as it heats it up, right? The tip will heat up, and you actually suck the solder off the board and later clean out the tip. Does that make sense to you? Right? It's a pretty nice device. They're like, I don't know, $30-40. I've rarely used this one, but I have used it on circuit boards, okay? Now, to do one of these, I wouldn't recommend just getting in there and just start, heating these things up and trying to shove this stuff off with a tip of a soldering iron. What I've done so far on this one, I've pulled up these 4 tabs on the potentiometer itself, right? And what that'll let me do is separate the cap from the body so that I'm not heating up anything that's integral to the part of this, potentiometer. It's going to be damaged. Undone the 4 tabs, wow, it's hot, of the potentiometer, right? And exposed it, as you can see, so that I can now remove all that slug solder off there. Keep it from making a mess, looking bad, and causing problems later. Right? Now, the problem with having junk on your pot like this is not just only looks and how bad it looks. Excuse me. It's that you can't be 100% sure that you got a good connection. Okay? You don't know if that's connecting that pot or not. And you don't know if it's going to snap off or not, or just, basically not work. And that's still pretty hot. Anyway, like I said, I take what I do, I take what I call a slug iron, one of my worn out, soldering irons, not one of these really nice ones like this, but I take one that's about, 35, 40 amps, right? And I take a flathead screwdriver, and I'll basically just heat this up and just push it off gently onto some cardboard, okay? Until a point I've got a pretty clean, pristine playing area. You get me? Here's what the inside of these look like. They got that little dollop of grease in there to help this thing move about freely. And that's what you're trying not to burn up. You're trying not to burn up this mixture in here, right? A little burn look to it. But once this thing is off, like I said, you just take your screwdriver. You're heating it right behind the screwdriver with the slug type of soldering iron. It looks kind of like this. Those old beat up broken ones. It still gets up to 30, 40 watts. And you're just heating this as you go down, right? And you're pushing it off, pushing it off, pushing it off. Now, you can have it in a vise. You can have it held with some, needle nose. If you don't have a desk vise or any type of vise type thing, you can actually hold it with a pair of pliers and heat it, then push it as you set your soldering iron down. Heat sink, same thing, hold it with that. But the whole trick of it is to get that solder off there and get you a nice clean surface that you can actually go back and do this work that you need to be doing once again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away from this. I'm going to remove all this crud off this one and show you how it cleans up. Okie dokie. So hang in there. Okay, guys. Here's what you're left with. It's a little bit roughed up looking, but I guarantee you it looks better than this looking thing. I would say it's got some kind of weird elephantitis growth to it or something. Look at that mass of stuff he used. Good God almighty. And the burn spot, it's unbelievable what I found inside this thing. There are like 3 or 4 loose wires in here that you just kind of cut and left. But in essence, what you're left with is a nice, smooth, rough surface, right? Not real smooth, but rough surface back that's flat that can fit with inside an F-hole much readily than this could. You couldn't get this to an F-hole that was tight to save your life. It just wouldn't fit. As deep as this stuff is. Unbelievable. Anyway, I took this down, right? And look at here. That material is hardly even, moved a bit inside here. Now, maybe a little bit, on the done side. Kind of like a scrambled egg type thing. But no, I've actually touched my finger to it and it's still got that same dippity-doo type of texture to it. So it's still doing its job of lubricating. And of course, your next deal is to take a look at this, make sure there's nothing inside here, any filings or anything that may have gotten inside of it. Remove the excess off your. Good God, look at that! Look what he did. Remove the excess solder off your connectors, then just reattach it and snap it back down in there, and you're done. Okay, and that's the way to save, $50, on a guitar modification if you've got the Gibsons to start with. Now, doing this to one of these beat up old Chinese ones, right? I wouldn't go that much trouble with one of these. But the thing is, keep this as an example of a good soldering job. See that? It's right to the edge where it belongs, so that the legs on the cap don't have to move much, right? And just a big drop, and once the drop's done, he's tinned the end of the cap, as well as this end of the cap, put it through the hole, sealed it up, heated up the dollop along with the tin part of the cap on the leg, and seal that down. He's done. And that shouldn't take more than, I guess, 10-15 seconds to do that. Just put a big drop on there and let it cool, and come back in and slide that into it, right? So I'm going to finish cleaning these up for him and put them back in his guitar, and just another one of those tips to help you get through the day. Okay? Any questions about this or any of these other parts I've been working on, give me a holler. Dave in Texas. Bye.